What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It is the only sports podcast. That's right, the only sports podcast. I'm Will. That's Casino over there. How we doing today,
Not so good,
Casino?
not so good, not so good. I'm just gonna jump the gun on that, not so good. Just
Are you
ugh,
sick from an illness or from this Super Bowl matchup?
the Super Bowl matchup, dude. I don't My entire bar when the Chiefs won just went, huh. There was not a single Chiefs fan in there, or I mean Bills fan in there, like wearing any Bills get up or anything. It was just all regular people, and the entire bar, not one person was cheering for the Chiefs. Everybody just goes, ugh, and
Yeah.
then just continues drinking with their day. And I was just like, yep, that sounds about right. Just,
I mean,
I'm over it.
as someone who people have dubbed, I don't know, a football oracle, as someone who can see the football future, I called this matchup, Casino. As someone who in our entire picks for the playoffs, I believe I got I got 2 games wrong. I got 2 games
Whoop-de-doo for
wrong.
you, motherfucker.
Uh, oh, no,
Pardon
no,
my
that's not
French.
true. I got
Yeah.
4 games wrong. No. I don't know.
He
But
can't even figure it out. See, what such an oracle. He can't even tell that.
well,
Great
because I
job.
don't look at the past, I look at the future.
Oh,
And
you're
the
an idiot.
future and the present is I win the playoff picks 8-4.
Again,
So
you win it again. That's
I
fine.
won regular season and postseason, and my Super Bowl matchup at the beginning of the season was Eagles Chiefs. And I'll tell you what, my wife, I was watching obviously the Eagles Commanders game we watched together, and then we were going to dinner right at the last like 2 minutes of the Chiefs Bills game. So she's driving, I'm watching it on my phone, and when the Bills like start losing or whatever, I am like fidgeting in my chair and I'm like, like reacting negatively to everything that Kansas City is doing. And my wife turns to me and she goes, I thought you wanted the Chiefs to win so you could be right. And I said, yeah, but I would much rather have the Chiefs lose and me be wrong than be right because I don't like the Chiefs. I will never root for the Chiefs. I don't. Again, somebody in our we posted a video last week that is titled "Do the Chiefs really get all the calls?" And everyone in the comment section
This is
is,
this is gold.
I mean, they're saying haters gonna hate and all that kind of stuff. I don't know how many times we have to say on this podcast, we hate the Kansas City Chiefs. We are not trying to hide that. I do not like them. I do not want to watch them
I do
play. I
not
do
like
not
them,
want
Sam. I am.
yeah, I don't wanna watch them in a Super Bowl again. Like, even if it's against now, obviously, the other flip side of the coin is my Eagles won. Everybody's acting like they don't wanna see the Eagles in the Super Bowl just because it's a repeat, which again, I get. I didn't wanna see the 49ers and the Chiefs last year because there was a repeat. So, it's not even but again, this is let's just jump right into it, Casino.
Let's do it.
So, the let's first talk about the game and then we will segue into the controversy and we'll even get from our comment section. But first, starting with the Bills and Chiefs, the Chiefs win 32-29. Let's just talk about the game itself before we get into the penalties at the end and the Chiefs issue and all that kind of stuff. So the game itself, again, it is insane to me how the score ends up being 32-29. It is insane to me how well the Bills always play against the Chiefs and just always come up short. Like even Josh Allen in this game, 22 for 34, 237, 2 touchdowns, rushed 11 times for 39 yards. James Cook had 85 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also had that insane fourth and goal play where he like
Yeah,
juked
it
the
was
one guy and dove and
one of the
yeah.
best plays of, if not my one of my favorite plays of the year, honestly, just because the stage that it was at, you needed that touchdown. Obviously, they still didn't win, but that was an outstanding play, just guts play.
Yeah. Uh,
Um, yeah,
so James Cook, again, it doesn't matter how much the Bills add. They just don't. They just always come up short. So just from the Bills' perspective on this game, Casino, how did you think they played? Why do you think they came up short?
I think they came up I think they played fine. I think Josh Allen played outstanding. Like his stats, especially just against so those 4 games he's lost in the postseason, I think he's 11 and 1. I had it up earlier. I think he's 11 and 1 with touchdowns to interception ratio. He's got some of the best numbers in postseason history of all time for any player. He's just an outstanding player. My issue with the team is why weren't they letting Cook run more? Why weren't
Mhm.
they using Cook more? The Chiefs couldn't stop him. He was looking really good. I mean, yes, here and there they were getting some stops on him, but overall, Cook was doing really good. And that's where I think, and that's why I think the Eagles have a great shot of beating the Chiefs in the Super Bowl is for that reason right there is they're a good running team and they're not afraid to run, right? They just put up 7 touchdowns in the rush against that team. So, or against the Commanders. Um, I think that the Bills' downfall comes down to coaching, honestly. Um,
Yeah.
because I mean, Josh Allen, you can't ask him to do any more. Why wasn't he running anymore? I mean, he did that one great run. That was the majority of his yards towards the end of the game, and I'm like, there you go, utilizing his legs. There were so many times. Yes, I know that they were not letting him get to the outside. They had a spy on him and making sure that he didn't get loose on the outside. But instead of just throwing the ball and having incomplete pass, just Josh run up the gut a couple more times. You don't have a lot more chances to make the Super Bowl, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I really don't think it does, just because bigger quarterbacks who run and just bigger quarterbacks in general, they get beat to shit, right? And not only do you still have Patrick Mahomes and everything, but you have all these other great talents and teams starting to surge, starting to get better. You don't know the landscape going forward. That yes, has been dominant by the Chiefs, but look this year. I mean, you have Denver getting better. You have the Chargers getting better. Like there's teams that are going to get better and not be. It's not going to be just Bills versus um, Bills versus Chiefs. I mean, hell, the Ravens are always going to be a threat. So
Yep.
that window, I think, for Josh to make a Super Bowl is getting really thin. I
Yeah.
thought this was gonna be the last year, but I mean, he's still Josh Allen, but that window is just gonna get thin because of time. And I really think that they didn't utilize the run game enough in that game to take the ball away from Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, and it was also one of those things where I thought the Bills Super Bowl window was closed last year. I thought that was the last year they were going to get it, and then this year they far outseated my expectations. I think in the beginning, when we were doing the beginning of the season, when we were doing our predictions, I think I said they were going to be a wild card team, or something like that. I still thought they were going to make the playoffs, but I didn't think they would have a real shot at making the playoffs. And then you see this year, they had, I mean, they felt like the best team in the AFC for a couple weeks there, where, after that embarrassing loss against the Ravens, I don't really think then they go beat the Chiefs during the regular season. And then they had, oh, I can't remember the big win they had after that Chiefs game, where, oh yeah, they had the weird 2 week window where it was like they lost to that Rams
Sorry, I'm
team by
still a little
two,
sniffly.
and then they beat the Lions by 6 points, and it was like, oh, maybe this is a different Bills team, and then they went on a tear after that. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like when you're watching the Bills Chiefs games, there's never a moment where you're like, the Bills got this. It's always just like the score is always close enough. The Bills can't get enough ahead. And it really just comes down to, I don't know if it's coaching, I don't know if it's schemes, but again, even that fourth down call, like even I saw this great thing online. I think it might have been even from Dan Orlovsky of all people, but he was like, "This is the difference between the Chiefs and the Bills in these types of situations." And it was like, "This is the Chiefs' fourth down call that they converted," and it's like a perfect pocket. There's a guy wide open, and then it's like, or it was something like, "This is them." 2 seconds into their fourth down call, right? And it's perfect pocket, guys wide open. And then it's like, this is the Bills in their fourth down, gotta have it called 2 seconds after it. And it's literally Josh Allen running, and three Chiefs are like a foot away from him, right? So it's like, obviously that's coaching. Obviously it's Andy Reid. That's why it annoys me so much when people say like, "Oh, the Chiefs, it's just Mahomes. He has nobody. He has potentially the greatest tight end of all time, potentially the greatest coach of all time. Definitely right now the best offensive coach of all time. He
Definitely.
has the fastest wide receiver in the league and a top 5 defense. What more if you put Josh Allen, if you put any quarterback on the Chiefs to act like the Chiefs are going, 2-15 instead of right around 15-2, like that's you're dumb. You're just trying to hype up Patrick Mahomes when he doesn't need to be hyped up. But again, if you're the Bills, do you keep McDermott after this? Or
I
do
don't think
you
so.
I
I
mean,
mean, they
how
well, I
many
mean I mean, they're gonna keep him this year because all the coaching's already, already brought up all together, you know what I'm trying to say. Gobbled up
Yeah,
is what I was looking for.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know who could change for him. I don't know who they would put in because obviously he still wins, but if you can't beat the one thing that stops you from like you can't beat the Chiefs in the playoffs, you know? This is 4 times now. Something's got to change.
yeah.
Obviously, your coaching scheme or whatever your game plan just doesn't mesh well against Andy's Reid's game plan. It feels like Andy Reid at least changes things up. Eh,
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm
Well,
over it.
it's also
I'm not over it.
honestly
I'm very, very sad still.
honestly, much like Andy Reid, that's who McDermott feels like. Because remember, there was that period in Philadelphia where Andy Reid was going to the NFC Championship game every year and losing to a different team until finally he went to the Super Bowl. So McDermott weirdly does feel like Andy Reid, but I don't feel like, even when that was happening with Andy Reid, he wasn't being deemed as one of the best coaches ever. I don't think McDermott,
That's a good
people
point.
would be like, yeah, I mean, he always puts together great rosters, but the one thing Reid never had until he got Mahomes was like the best quarterback in the league. You can make the case that even in this season, even in the seasons where the Chiefs have won it, you can make the case that Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the league. He just doesn't have, you know, the coaching and the weapons
The
and
tools around
defenses.
him, yeah.
Yeah. But
But
now
again,
let's
I thought Cook played outstanding. I mean, Amari Cooper didn't do anything in that game.
no.
But Cook I thought was outstanding, and I'm baffled on why they did not utilize him more in that game. Just have no idea why they didn't utilize him more.
Again, you look at everybody who even caught passes in this game. Dalton Kincaid had 2 catches. Uh Dawson Knox, Curtis Samuel, Keon Coleman all just had 1 catch. Amari Cooper had 4 catches on 4 targets, and then Shakir and Hollins had 3 catches and 6 catches. So it's not like, again, I don't know what your game plan is going into this game where it's like, let's not, like you said, let's not feed our game changer in James Cook. Let's not do what Josh Allen is best at, which is let him run, roll him out of the pocket, do some
I mean, I know
design
that
quarterback
again, every
runs.
time he did roll out of the pocket, there was always somebody there, and he couldn't get upfield. That's just great coaching by Andy Reid. However,
Yeah.
you got to make something work. And I thought they had it working um with Cook, but they just didn't give it to him. It just
Yeah.
blew my mind.
And then again, you have your tight end who gets 4 targets, 2 receptions, 13 yards. Like it's, I just don't get, if you sat down McDermott and was like, "What's the game plan to beat the Chiefs?" Like, did we see it? Like again, we saw it during the regular season, and honestly, the reason the Bills won that game was that one Josh Allen like Superman moment where he scrambled up the middle and broke 2 tackles. So
Yeah,
it's like, was that wasn't obviously in the playbook. So what is the scheme to beat the Kansas City Chiefs? What is it? Like,
I don't know. I mean, I really think it's just some good power running. Just give it to your running back, dude. Like
That's what
that
I think. Like, keep Mahomes off the field, burn clock, like, I don't know, like, again, cover Travis Kelsey, which again, let's shift over to the Chiefs.
ugh,
Travis Kelsey in this game, 2 receptions, 19 yards. So they got half the equation. He didn't do anything in this game,
no.
except obviously do a taunt in somebody's face that,
You got that one
uh,
2-point conversion, right? I think.
yeah,
Was
and
that
then,
him? I don't remember.
it might have been him or the other tight end. I can't, I think it might have been the other tight end. But, yeah, so then we look at the Chiefs side of it. Patrick Mahomes, 18 for 26, 245, 1 touchdown,
Nothing
0
special.
interceptions.
Nothing
Uh,
special.
no, he also rushed for 2 touchdowns, 43 yards. Again, he had a 2024-2025 Patrick Mahomes game, which is he was fine. Like, again, the all 43, the one thing I will say about Patrick Mahomes, he is not a running quarterback, but when he runs, it's always in like a big moment. Again,
Mhm,
if we're taking out the controversy on the calls, which we will talk about in a second, if you just look at Patrick Mahomes as a quarterback, I don't, again, there's already people being like, he's the second best quarterback of all time. Like, all right, calm down. But he's
I mean, I'll take
potentially
that. Just say it's second best. Always second best.
I think without question he's top 5. I think it's insane that people are already putting him in as the second best. But uh I think he's a top 5 of all time, and every time you watch him in a game, he's what you and I hate to bet against, which is a quarterback you're always scared of. Like,
Mhm,
if you have money on the other team and you're watching Patrick Mahomes, you're terrified that at any moment, because I mean, he's won every Super Bowl he's ever won by being down 10 points at one point. So it's like you need to be up by minimum what, I think it's 14 points, and then
a
the
lot.
win.
You need to be up
Yeah,
a lot.
you need to be up by 2 touchdowns where it's even like the threat is still there, but you just feel a little bit better about it. But I'll also tell you what, in this game, Kareem Hunt, 17 carries, 64 yards, 1 touchdown. He was a free agent at the beginning of the season, and they kind of just brought him back when Pacheco went out with an injury. And then even in this game, Pacheco, 5 carries, 12 yards. So it's like Kareem Hunt was kind of getting the Ezekiel Elliott treatment where it was like he got cut, everybody was thought he was past his
Mhm.
prime, nobody picked him up. The Chiefs brought him back in just for injury depth piece, and now all of a sudden he's their leading rusher, I think, in every playoff game. Like, great story for him. Again, we hate the Chiefs, but there's
Yeah, I'm still
certain
not a fan
players.
of Kareem Hunt with the whole of his off the field,
Well,
situations.
yeah, I mean, that goes without saying. But on the field, it's impressive that all of a sudden he's back to being their lead receiver. But again, the thing that everybody knew would come back to bite them, the Bills uh traded the pick that became Xavier Worthy to the Chiefs. So then, of course, in the playoff game, Xavier Worthy of the Chiefs is their leading receptions, yards, and the only one who caught a touchdown. He
Yeah.
goes 6 receptions, 85 yards, 1 touchdown. He was the most targeted. He had the most receptions. He had the most yards. He had the only touchdown. So everybody, again, if you wrote that in a movie, you would cross it out and be like, "That's too unrealistic. That's dumb. That the one player they trade away is the one player that beats them." But and then again, the fumbles, the Chiefs lose or the Chiefs get rid of 4 fumbles. They only lose one of them. Uh or no, I think they lost all of them. The If I remember correctly, they
Well,
had 4
then you
turnovers
had
in this
one that got
game.
called back.
Yeah. So the only fumble technically lost by the Chiefs was one. So we'll just leave
Yeah,
it
it
at
was the
that. But
handoff between Mahomes and, Pacheco,
yeah.
or
So
Hunt, whichever running back.
I think it was Hunt. But in this game, Casino, it comes
I
down
was
to the
I was working through this game, so I didn't see 100% of what was going on, and I will tell you right now, I was not gonna go watch any of those highlights. So, yeah, not even the controversial plays that, we'll get into. I didn't watch it. None of it. I was just like, "Oh,
uh,
look, another highlight? Meh, fuck it. Eagle highlight, Barkley, yeah, let's go." That's what I was caring about.
but uh On the call at the end of the game where it's the fourth down, Josh Allen again plays Superman, buys enough time to launch a rocket downfield, hits Dalton Kincaid right in his hands at the fourth down call, and he drops it. Then it
Like,
came down.
it's in Kincaid's hands. Like, I don't like, he slipped too. Like, dude.
I know. Also, if you
Ugh.
look at that play from like the all 22 angle where it's above the field, he is so wide open at past the fourth down marker. It's ridiculous. And then obviously Allen has to throw up like a Hail Mary pass to get it, just to get it to him. Hits him right in the hands. He drops it. And then the Bills just have to make one stop. Maybe they'll get another chance.
Never
Casey
did.
a field goal, and they would be down by what? They lost the game by 3, so they'd be down
Yeah.
by 6. And then again, it's that one call where not Pacheco, not Hunt. It is who was the guy? Oh, Samaji P. Ryan is just wide open on the left side. Not anybody within 20 yards of him. It's an automatic first down. Chiefs win. And much like you said at your bar where you were working, just I feel like the air got sucked out of the football watching world. Just like, and it wasn't even like the wind got sucked out where everybody was like, oh man, it was more like a uh
Ugh.
like just like that, like just exhaling of
And
just
I mean, everybody just went on about their evening, and like nobody was like talking about it anymore. Everybody just like turned their head and was just like, and then maybe within, I don't know, 2 minutes, because we had a line at the bar. We had already changed it all to the Golden Knights game. We're just like, yeah, this is better. And everybody was like, oh, sweet, the Knights, they're winning. Cool. Like, we were
yeah.
like, it was just like, so nobody gave a shit anymore that the football game was over, like, or nobody was discussing. Nobody gave two shits about what was happening. They're just like, okay, it's over. Thankfully, cool.
Yeah, which is this is the only comparison I can make, Casino. As you know, both myself and yourself have watched a lot of wrestling together over the years. I've been a wrestling fan almost as long as I've been a football fan, since I was like 13, 14.
Yeah,
So,
when you were able to realize that you like men in tights, so
yeah, that happened much earlier.
oh,
But
I'll just do the correlation. I mean, both football players, wrestlers,
that's
tight
true.
outfits. You're all
That's
for it.
true. All for those men in those tight outfits running into each other.
Those men in tight
Yeah.
tights.
But in wrestling, there is a term that developed in the late 90s that was referred to as X-Pac heat. Okay. The Chiefs now officially have X-Pac heat, which X-Pac heat. So in wrestling, there's good guys and bad guys. They're named face or heels, right? So it's face is the good guy, heel is the bad guy. When you are a heel, the purpose of you is to be a bad guy that's so bad the audience cheers when you're getting beat up or losing, or they cheer when you're in a match against the good guy because they want to see you get beat up by said good guy, right? So that's a heel. Now, in the late 90s, there was a term developed called X-Pac heat for the wrestler X-Pac. He also went by Six. His real name is Sean Waltman. He wrestled in every promotion on the planet, right? One of the best workers of all time. So X-Pac heat, in short, and this is the definition off Google. If the fans love to hate the character or wish to see someone beat them, they're a heel. If fans just hate the character regardless of their alignment, they're the scrappy. If fans hate seeing the performer behind the character, then it's X-Pac heat. So, in a feud with Kane, for some reason during the late 90s, early 2000s, the crowd turned so much on this character named X-Pac where they weren't booing him, they weren't cheering him, they were just unhappy to see him on their TV in a match, which meant that they had to do this complete overhaul of his character, take him off TV, like figure out what was happening. The Chiefs have officially developed X-Pac heat, where The Patriots, even if you hated them, you saw them lose a couple Super Bowls, you saw them lose some big games, and you love to watch them lose, right? Like both Giants games, the Eagles game, everybody's cheering for the Giants in those games because it was an upset. Everybody's cheering for the Eagles because it was the backup and an upset and all that kind of stuff. So even when the Patriots were at their most dominant, people wanted to see them lose and saw them lose often in big games,
Yeah.
right? So it was like they're the heel. Everybody who faced them was the face. It has now turned with the Chiefs where you never see them lose in a big game, mostly because of what we're going to talk about in a second. But it has turned so much to now there is multiple trending topics on all social media just being like ban this, or we're not going to boycott the Super Bowl. We're not going to watch the Super Bowl because the Chiefs are in it. They have officially gotten to the point where they're past the villain and they're to the part where I think it's going to start hurting the sport. It's going to be one of those things where all the discussions on Monday, yesterday, after this game were not, oh, how did the Chiefs Bills do it? It more just became like, is there a controversy? Is there calls? Yeah, I don't know. Just thoughts on that, Casino, with now the Chiefs having just
I mean,
go away heat.
I don't think that it's going to hurt the NFL, in
No,
a
it's too big.
viewerships.
It's
Yeah,
too big to
it's
fail.
too big, and, they'll just find more ways to get the viewership, like, for a great example, Taylor Swift, like, that's bringing in a whole different era of and a different wave of fan base, and, is working for them, right? So, it's not hurting them at all. They don't care. They're still this is the biggest sport. It's not gonna go back to NBA. It's not gonna go back to, baseball, for heaven's sakes, we all know that. Um, so, yeah, it's just it's you're not gonna see much of a change. Sorry, it's just not gonna happen.
No. And people are delusional if they think that complaining about the refs and the flags one way or another is going to change literally anything because again, the Chiefs are going to what, their 5th Super Bowl now?
Mm,
There's 6,
6? I don't
whatever it
know.
is. Obviously, Mahomes has 3. They lost 1, and then they're going to this one. So, yeah, they're going to their 5th Super Bowl. And every single year of their Super Bowl, coincidentally, except the year they lost it to the Bucks, has been mired in controversy, which for everyone in our comment section, this is now for you because we just went 25 minutes just talking about the game, no mention of the penalties. So now we're going to dive into the penalties for all the little babies that can't handle discussions about this. This is the part where you click off or skip ahead. Okay. Because I'm not going to read your comments again, just being like, oh man, well, you got to respect what they do. No, you don't. Respect is earned. They have not earned my respect. They will never earn my respect. No, you don't. Just this whole thing of just oh. So here we go. Here we go, Casino. And yes, I have visual aids for all the people
Woohoo!
watching that are just being like, what are you talking about? What are you not, I didn't see anything because I'm fucking blind and stupid. Okay, here we go, Casino. So first up we have, and again, I want to emphasize this point right now. The issue is not that the Chiefs get all the calls. No one has ever said they get all the calls. No one has said they ever get no penalties. No one has said the other team does not get penalties. Stop making that stupid argument. That is not the argument. The argument is not they get all the calls, and the argument is not the other team gets all the calls or gets no calls or whatever stupid argument you want to make. This is the issue, and it was perfectly put. The issue is the Chiefs don't get every call, they get every single close call in crucial situations.
Yep,
That is the issue. That is what
100%.
everyone has complained about. So stop with this dumb oh well they get everybody gets penalties or whatever. And this was on this was Dan Orlovsky's post. Let's an awful call again, a worse review. The ball clearly is past the line, absolutely horrible. And then Dan Freddy Buffalo Freddy replies, Chiefs don't get every call. They get every single close call in crucial situations. This got almost 2,000 likes. Okay. A reply on somebody's post, which means the majority of people agree with this.
Yeah,
Correct? Correct.
100%. Because I mean, that's what
That
it
is
is.
the issue. So, thoughts on just that? Is that what we've been talking about this entire time,
That's what
Casino?
yeah, people get it confused because they don't know how to express that. They're just like, "Oh, they get the calls, they get the calls, they get the calls." It's not that they don't get that they get the calls. It's they get every single one that is pivotal in a game that will change and I'm tired of this narrative where people's like, "Oh, but that's not going to cost them the game. There was still plenty of football to play, this and that." And it's like it changes momentum. It
Yes.
changes momentum. It takes the breath away from that team that got ripped apart on that. Like
Hmm.
just me watching it. Just me watching it as a fan, like the one where, uh and this one wasn't really that controversial, but where, Patrick Mahomes fumbled it and, went far back, and we thought that the Bills recovered it, but then it was a defensive offside. He did clearly jump early, but it still made me feel like, oh, here we go again." Like, it was just so deflating, even though it was the right call, it was just so deflating, like and then so the ones that are very questionable and they go the other way and they always go the Chiefs way just makes you just ugh. It's
And
like
again,
how? Like,
well,
why does
again,
this happen?
even under this post, you can see somebody posted this video where it says, time to finally debunk the myth that the Chiefs get all the calls. No one is saying they get all the calls. That is what Chiefs fans and people who just try to do this, like spinning the words around to make it where it's like, actually, you don't have a good point because here's why.
Yeah,
In every 50-50 situation, every 50-50 call, the Chiefs 100% get those calls. So,
right.
what other team, again, if the Super Bowl in 2 weeks was Eagles Bills, would the discussion of referees even be the 100th topic people were talking about when it came to that game? No fucking chance.
No.
0% chance that would be a discussion topic.
I mean, going back to I know I watched this game with you, but the Eagles game, with, Bradbury, right? That whole, hold call, you know, I didn't have an issue with that per se, the whole call itself. It was you let them play the entire game. You let them play. I mean, if you guys watch us long enough or listen to us long enough, you heard me we talk about this in that Super Bowl. Um, it wasn't the fact that the call was made. It was you let them play all game like this, both teams, and then when it mattered, then you make that call. That's the deflating portion of it. It's like why even do like it's on the border. You're right. It could go either way. You could call it, you don't call it. But that's one thing I love about hockey. That's what I love about hockey is they set the tone. The refs set the tone from the very start. What you can get away with and what you can't get away with,
Yep. Yeah.
and that I
Also,
mean
let's
it's just known, and that's where I have a hard time with stuff like this.
Well, also on that play, it's just completely where it's just like, oh, yeah, the ball was uncatchable. And then it's like, oh, doesn't matter. He was holding. Like, again, use your little baby brain and think of it logically. If that call was happening against the Chiefs, would that ever get called against them? There's no way. There's no way that call gets called against the Chiefs, but like, I mean, for the Chiefs. But against the Chiefs, that gets called 100 out of 100. But for the Chiefs, if they were the defensive player holding them and the pass was uncatchable, there's 0% chance that gets called on the Chiefs in that moment. And that's the issue. That is the issue. But now let's move on, Casino, to our next clip, shall we? Which is a thing I just mentioned, which is why all of a sudden is Travis Kelsey the only person allowed to taunt the other team? Because,
Because it's Taylor Swift.
well, from what I've been told, this is a penalty all day. Let's take a look at it.
After he was across, Hamlin taking him to the ground. And Kelsey came over and said, "What's up with that?"
Is this or is this not taunting?
2 touchdowns by the Chiefs.
Kelsey knows how to. He's like, yep, that happened.
Phillips
And
comes
I,
in
Phillips
I, yeah.
charged
And
for the
that
flop.
on the field.
that drew the penalty when Phillips came in and got in his face. That drew the penalty
The
for
penalty on that was just
unsportsmanlike conduct.
he went in with the head, and,
But
and he
what
made the
is
head contact. But
But again, what does Kelsey do? Kelsey immediately goes in, gets right in his face with his helmet, and would have hit him if DeMar Hamlin didn't put his arms up. So again, is this taunting or is it not taunting?
I would say
Does this
taunting.
does this again? And
But
you can say,
you see other players get flagged for it. That's the issue.
well, you can also say last week where it was the Kelsey catches it, stares the guy down, no call. Last year, Zay Flowers does the exact same thing, gets called for taunting and unsportsmanlike conduct. So you can't say, even if this one you go, oh, well, that's not taunting. Then the last one where it was a carbon copy of a play called for taunting, why wasn't that taunting? Because again, one person is Travis Kelsey and dating a person that brought in over $350 million in added revenue to the NFL, and everybody else isn't. Like, again, rules good enough for me, not for thee, or is the definition of what is happening here. Let's just keep going, Casino. Why not?
Why not?
We're humming here. People already know we hate the Chiefs, and again, we're just pulling all this shit out of our ass, even though Monday morning this was the talk of every sports show on the planet. So in one drive alone, Casino, whoop,
When you have before you go on that, when you have people who are actually paid, super paid professional analysts to talk about all this stuff, the fact that they're saying it on almost every single show on TV, every single radio show, anything. I mean, obviously not podcasts because we're the only one, but every radio show, every TV show, um, you constantly hear it, and everybody's talking about it, but
yep,
nothing's gonna change. The fact that you have everybody talking about it in a negative light, that's what's blowing my mind. That it's just like, okay, we just keep doing. It's just gonna nothing's gonna change because the NFL has that power, and you're still gonna. Sorry, I'm too far away. Nothing's gonna change because the NFL has that power. They're still gonna get their revenue, like you just said. Taylor Swift just bringing a shit ton of revenue for them, and they don't even have to do anything. Like,
yeah.
just
And the evidence of that is this one right here. So for people listening, this says, and this by Justin or Jimmy Hoffa 40, Justin Hoffman right here. In one drive alone, we saw again, this was one drive of the Chiefs Bills game for the Chiefs. Refs missed 3 blocks in the back on the punt return. Ball hits the ground. They say it's a catch. Play clock expired before 2-minute warning and no delay of game call. No taunting call on Kelsey, which we just saw, but Kelsey flops, falls to the ground, and gets a personal foul. That was one drive. Again,
not
all
just
of
one
those.
drive, but a massive drive in the game.
Yeah, that put them up in a one-score game. So again, you get just all those. The catch wasn't a catch. The 2-minute warning gives them 5 yards. The taunting call gives them 15 yards. And then there's no call on the personal foul. The refs miss 3 blocks in the back, which led to like a 30 or 40-yard return. Again, this shit adds up. Like, you just stack them right there alone. That's 15 yards. That's 25 extra yards. That's 5 yards. That's 15 extra yards. That's almost a length of an entire football field not being called on one drive. One drive. Like, I'll do one more, Casino, because again, we could just do this for hours. I have so many things. I have one more that just is a perfect encapsulation of what we've been talking about right now, and it's just screen grabs, so right here, when you look at it, let's see, this was called not a first down. Again, if you see my cursor on the screen, this is the first down line. This is Josh Allen past the fourth down line, or first down line on 4th and inches.
No,
Okay.
and
Now,
it's not just him, the ball. More importantly, I mean, the ball
yes,
has to be.
the ball is probably right about here at this time. Again, it's clear as day. Even if you say, "Oh, you think he's holding the ball down here?" Like you think he's holding the ball back and away from the line, or you think he's holding the ball to his chest or across the line. But again, that play shouldn't have even happened because this one, Dalton Kincaid on third and whatever it was, is past the first down marker with the ball. Again, clear as day, you say, oh, well, the yellow line doesn't represent the first down line. Yeah, the pylon does.
And
So,
and which is on the white line, and that is
yeah, that is on the field. That is the first down. That's where they need to get to it. So again, you can say, what is it? Oh, well, the line is not accurate of it and all that kind of stuff. They didn't even bring out the chains to measure this. There was no measurement for this play. They just immediately
because
said
they
it was
knew,
fourth and inches, fourth
because they
and
knew what
one,
they were gonna
whatever it
call.
was. Yeah. Let's just keep going. On this one, again, this was ruled a catch, and I'm gonna have
You're
to change
yeah, I would
the
say, yeah, there it is.
so this was ruled a catch. On what planet can the ball be in one receiver's hand and the other half of the ball completely be on the ground where it's ruled a catch? This play, unlike the third and fourth down calls, this play was reviewed and held up as a catch. So again, in the games, as Casino was just talking about, every little instance and call like this matters. Not only did they fail the challenge on this, now all of a sudden the Chiefs get, I think this was a 25, 30-yard pass. So the Chiefs get an additional 25, 30 yards. They lose a timeout and you lose a challenge. So every
And he
little
was
thing
so
matters.
and he was so certain that it was not a catch. You know, he's not even like questioning it. He's not like, "No, no, 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 no." He's like,
Yeah,
no, it's not a catch. Here's my challenge flag. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Ugh.
because it's not a catch. And for what other team in the world is this a catch? The ball is touching the ground, which is the one thing they emphasize, like you need to get your hands under it. Last one, again, not holding, not holding on a big scramble play that led to a first down. Uh, what is holding and what isn't? They
Well,
say
because
you
look,
can call.
he's not paying attention to that ref right there. I'm pointing in the screen like you can see me doing it. Yes, right there. He's not looking at that play. He's supposed to be looking at that. He's not supposed to be watching Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, but
He's supposed to be.
he's amazed. He's amazed by the wonder that is Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, I get to stand behind him, smell his farts. Oh yeah,
Ah, it's just
his shit
it's
don't stink.
and this is the last one. I won't even put it on the screen. I'll just read it. This is by Nick Perkins of Nicky Perks. Again, great names by all these people. Say what you want, but Kansas City hasn't had one game this year that didn't have a crazy controversial call that didn't go their way. The NFL as a product is dying. I don't agree with that last part. That's just people being, again, the boycott of the NFL will not work. I said it last year that nobody's going to watch the Super Bowl, and then it ended up being the highest Super Bowl of all time, I believe. So the NFL is too big to die. It's too big to fail. None of this shit matters to them, especially when you have Taylor Swift bringing in almost half $1 billion in additional revenue. That's why they don't give a shit. That's why. Again, it's classified not as a sport, but as an entertainment company, the NFL, right? So they care
It's
about
true.
money. There's no integrity to the game. Everybody knows that. But to do what, again, this was spurred on by our comments on the last video, just being some of the dumbest shit I've ever read in my life. It's not all the calls for the Chiefs. They do not get all the calls. They get all the 50-50 calls, and they're also a great team. So you have that 50-50
Yeah, I mean,
combination.
we're not saying they're not a good team. They are a great team. Is Mahomes a good quarterback? He's a really good quarterback. He's elusive. He's got a strong arm, and he can see plays developing, and he can make things happen. He's a good quarterback. Andy Reid's an amazing coach. This team is built right. They have the weapons. They are smart with their money. They know they do everything right.
They're good
It's
at drafting.
they're
They're
good
one
at
of the best
drafting, but
drafting teams. Yeah.
the issue is the controversy that comes with all these late calls, the no calls, everything that's going their way in 50-50 calls typically always go their way. I'm sure it's above 90% on 50-50 calls go their way. Either whether
Yeah.
they get called or not get called. And so like that's where people have issue. That's where people have issue. And there's standards. Great one is for, as you just talked about, um, Travis Kelsey doing the taunting thing. There's rules, and when you apply those rules to certain players and certain teams, but then you don't with them, that's where some issues occur. That's where people get upset about.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, again, everyone always talks about how they don't want games decided by referees, but then for some reason, when games are like 50% of the time decided by referees in the Chiefs game, everybody then just has to throw up their arms and be like, well, that's okay because blah, blah, blah. They would have won anyways. And it's just like, so how about we just see if they can win anyways? How about we do that? How about
Yeah.
we agree that we don't want a million flags and we don't want no flags? So there's a middle ground where, like, again, they say you can call holding on every play, but they don't, which means they're human beings that have a brain in their head that can differentiate when you should and shouldn't call something. So when it's shit like the taunting or whatever, if you don't want players to taunt in the NFL, why are you not calling it every time? Again, that's not a judgment call. That's not a football play. That's not something that's reviewable. That's, oh, hey, is a player getting in another player's face and celebrating right in their face? If that's a penalty, how are you not calling that 100 out of 100 times? It's clear as day that's what taunting is. Like, again, a catch, if the ball touches the ground
Mm.
at all, it's not ruled a catch. Like, these are not objective things.
Yeah. So with that
Ugh.
being said, let's get over to the Eagles.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Again,
I can't do it
I
anymore. I
know.
can't talk about them
I
anymore.
mean, we almost went 40 minutes, so there you go. There you go. There's our Chiefs Bills take. So excited to see the Chiefs back at the Super Bowl. And who they will be playing in the Super Bowl casino is my Philadelphia Eagles, which they won in the biggest in the most points ever scored in an NFC or AFC championship game in NFL history, which is absolutely
Since it
insane.
was recorded, since those or the conference championship games were put in back in 1970. So
Yeah.
long fucking
That's
time.
That's insane. The Eagles win 55-23 in just a blowout that I've heard legitimate analysts on TV say it was close. I'm not even joking. I've heard people say it was close. This was a 32-point blowout, and you still have people on TV going like, I mean, but
And
at
then the
any
turnover
moment,
ratio was, what ended up 4 with that interception, I think, right? So, yeah,
yeah,
4
4 to
turnovers to
nothing.
0. Yeah, like, this was not close. This was an absolute domination from every special team. Like, the special teams were outstanding. The defense was outstanding. It was a perfect game. Damn near I
Yeah.
mean, outside of making every completion, this was a perfect football game that they played. And
And
and you can't knock Jaden Daniels. He still had a great game. He had to throw the ball 48 times. Yes, you can throw the interception. Talked about that plenty. If you ask a quarterback to throw over 35 times, you kind of should expect one turnover. You know, and you can't be shocked if it happens. If it doesn't, great. But if it happens, you can't be like, oh, like, yeah.
this was as I like to do, and again, I called myself the football oracle. This is 3 minutes into the game, or 3 to 5 minutes into this game. These are the two messages I send you back to back. 18 plays, and they got 42 yards. The announcers are acting like that's an impressive drive for the Commanders. 18 plays, and they were able to move the ball only 42 yards and settle for a field goal. Eagles are winning this game. The very next message, 5 minutes into any game, I feel like you can tell who is going to win just by vibes. Eagles vibes are motivated badasses. Commanders vibes seem very nervous.
Mhm.
Okay. Literally 5 minutes into this game, the Commanders, 18 plays, 42 yards. They convert on fourth down like 4 times. For some reason, don't keep trying and just decide to kick for a field goal. And the announcers are like, wow, 18 plays. And they go down the field and they took so much time off the clock and all this kind of stuff. Like,
You wanna
it
know who also
what?
had a historic great start to a football game?
There,
Notre
yep.
Dame.
Yeah, their parallels were very
Similar.
obvious on that. Yeah,
Obviously similar, yeah.
but no, but it's so weird how the announcers were acting like that was a good thing. They again, you see 42 yards and you're like, "Oh, what did they it took like 10 plays or whatever." It took almost double what you usually do to get half the yards you normally get and
Right.
then you settle for a field goal.
You wanna
I don't
know
Go
No,
ahead.
keep going. Sorry.
No, no,
I
I
thought
was
you were
just
done.
gonna say, and then immediately after that, the second or the first play the Eagles
That's
do,
literally what I was gonna say. And then you talk
yeah.
about an impressive drive. First play the Eagles run, Saquon goes to the house. Outstanding.
I believe I have a graphic right here. I won't put it up on the screen, but I'll read it. In that moment, after that play, the Commanders had 18 plays. Their time of possession was 7 minutes and 3 seconds, and they put up 3 points. The Philadelphia Eagles had one play for 18 seconds that resulted in a touchdown. So less than 8 minutes into the game, the score was 7-3, and the difference of plays was 17 plays.
Yeah.
That
I mean, the
is,
the thing that's impressive for me that the Washington did was Jaden Daniels played a really good game. He was their leading rusher. He yes, he threw a pick, but he played well. I think it was what, 29 for what was it? 29-48, I think.
for the
It,
Commanders or
yeah,
for Jane Daniels. Yeah,
Jaden Daniels.
For Daniels, he was 29 for 48,
Yeah.
255, one touchdown, one
Yeah,
interception.
and
So,
a lot of that is he started having to heave balls toward the end of the game because he's trying to win. So it's not, some of those numbers are a little skewed, but I thought he played great, especially for a rookie, that wasn't expected to be there, and that team wasn't
yeah,
expected to be there. I think Washington's gonna be very scary for the next few years. They finally got their whole organization in check. They got rid of what they needed to. They brought in what they needed to. This team's gonna be good for a long time, and Jaden Daniels is gonna be, I think, a stud going forward. Because look what he's doing with very little um, help on offense. I mean, I know that you have oh my gosh, why am I blanking on his name? McLaurin, right?
yes, Terry McLaurin, who
Yeah,
had a big touchdown catch and run in this
he
game.
did. So like
Yeah,
they played well as a duo, but you were just and they played well. They still put up points against the number one defense. They played a good game. Washington did not play a bad game. It's just the Eagles played almost a perfect game. I
I would
mean,
say it was a perfect game.
I
They
mean,
didn't have
I
one turnover. I think it was perfect.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, almost to me, it was almost perfect. And when I mean almost perfect, you make your completion ratio a little bit better, and just yeah, I don't know, put up 60 points instead of 55. I don't know, but when you have all sides of the football, including special teams, playing outstanding and making plays that matter in the football game, when you have special teams making plays in the football game, that's great. That's a successful team. That's a team that can win consistently. And I mean, spoiler, I know we'll talk about it, but I just can't see how the Chiefs could beat the Eagles. I mean, it was questionable with Allen and the Bills. I just thought Josh Allen himself was going to will that to happen. That's what I've been talking about. And James Cook. I was like, they got Cook. He's playing really well. Feed him the ball, and I think that they could beat the Chiefs. And they stopped doing that, and they didn't let Josh run um, outside of like scrambling, but they were protecting the outside, but they weren't designing plays for him to run, which I don't get.
Yeah, I don't
Uh,
understand that
but
either.
here's the thing: the
Yeah.
Eagles are not going to do that. The Eagles run the football. They are going to run that football, and it's not just with Saquon. I mean, Hurts can run the football as well, especially when you get closer within the red zone. So that's where I just can't see the Chiefs beating the Eagles because the Eagles run the football, and that's what the Chiefs struggle against, in my opinion.
Yeah.
as like they're a great team still. I mean, they still have a great defense, but the thing I think that the Chiefs lack, the the thing that is on their team that is some chinks in the armor is going to be their run defense, and especially trying to stop Saquon Barkley and a elusive quarterback. Good luck. And I'll tell you right now, if Saquon can block the way he did in that Chiefs game or in that Commanders game in the Super Bowl, sorry, bro. Like outstanding.
Yeah.
He was laying some hits.
Well, so you saying that, Casino, actually, I just pulled it up. The Chiefs during the regular season were the eighth rushing defense in the league, where they were allowing 101.8 yards in per game. In the playoffs, however, they have averaged, again, only in 2 games, they have averaged the opponent's running back to get 148 rushing yards per game, which during the regular season, that would have put them as the 31st ranked running, or no, or yes, it would have put them as the 31st worst rushing defense in the league. So I don't know what happened between regular season and postseason, but so far in the postseason, if they have this same run defense, they would be the 31st worst running defense in the league. So now obviously that bodes well for Saquon Barkley and
Mhm.
Jalen Hurts,
And that's why I
but
thought I thought the recipe for the Bills to win the game was running, and they just didn't do it when they needed to. And it was successful when they did it. So I just don't get it. That's where I
yeah.
think it came down to coaching.
Yeah. But shout out, I will say, to the Commanders. Yes, their fans are annoying. Whose fans aren't?
Yeah,
But
whose fans aren't? I mean,
yeah.
yeah, Patriot fans, they're the worst, and I'm one of them. I mean, they're not worse than the Eagles fans, but they're bad.
See, and everybody says Eagles fans are worse. And then again, I can also cherry pick videos off the internet to make any fan base look like they're the worst fan base on the planet. So I just think there's certain fans for certain teams that are always going to be annoying in every sport on the planet. Like and then again, when people say, "Oh, the Eagles fans are the worst. They threw batteries at Santa Claus." It's like that happened during the 70s. Why is that still being brought up as a thing today? Most of those fans are probably dead. But when we talk about this game, Casino, I think obviously it was the turnovers. Obviously, Jaden Daniels, he did get sacked 3 times. One of those on fourth down was a Caleb Williams sack where he just had no self awareness that there was somebody just breathing down his neck, and then he gets sacked for a turnover on downs. But also, shout out to Eagles legend, Super Bowl champion Zach Ertz. In this game, he was the leading receiver by a wide margin in
Yeah,
terms of receptions, yards,
he played
and
well. He played
targets.
real well.
He was the best. I think if you take out Jaden Daniels throwing the one interception and all that stuff, he was the MVP on offense, maybe on the whole Commanders team. 11 receptions, 104 yards, targeted 16 times. Did not catch the touchdown because the lone touchdown went to McLaurin on that big slant play that went to the house. But Eagles, on the other hand, Saquon Barkley, 15 carries, 118 yards, 3 touchdowns. Will Shipley, when they're just trying to run out the clock, all of a sudden breaks out a 60-yard run and then immediately starts covering the ball because you could tell he knew he A wasn't fast enough and B he looked like he was out of breath. So
Oh, he was dead.
that was funny. Yeah. And then AJ Brown, Dallas Goddard, Devontae Smith, in that order, the leading catcher in yards. AJ Brown also caught the lone touchdown. Devontae Smith would have caught the touchdown if he wasn't being mugged repeatedly down the field in the end zone. But now, Casino, the thing we have to talk about is not Jalen Hurts, because that's going to be a whole other segment that I want to get into. The the
Man,
sequence
are
of
we gonna have time
events.
for all of your rants?
No, actually, I don't have any rants for this one. And I know people were expecting it, but this is where I was coming from. Before this game, I'm the most superstitious, nervous person when it comes to watching
I'm just a
football
little
games.
stitious.
Yeah, there you go. Nice callback. But uh as you know, Casino, I always get very nervous before Eagles games. This, I was very nervous before the Rams game because I was like, shit, like anything can happen in the snow. It's going to be a weird game. And it was. And I was very nervous in that game. Before this game, I had 0% nerves. I was like, there's no scenario, there's no way this Commanders team beats this Eagles team. So I wasn't nervous at all. During the game, it started out like perfect. And then after that Saquon run and score, I was like, I'm not nervous at all. Even when it got to 14-12, I was like, nope. Never once doubted the Eagles were winning this game. Multiple times during this game, I text you, we're winning this game. Like, this is going to be an easy blowout. Like, nothing. But the thing we need to talk about for this game, Casino, was I don't know if you saw the tush push situation with Frankie
Uh,
Louvu,
dude.
where
And I
I
can't knock him. I can't knock him for what he was doing. He was trying to stop it. He was trying to stop it. He was doing
Also,
everything he was the only one doing everything he could to try to stop that.
yeah. So, but again, the controversy came to where I believe after I want to say third time, I think he tried to do it 4 times, right? After the third or fourth time he did it, the referees get on and say, if this does not stop, we will just award basically points to the Eagles
Yeah.
because of a play that was put in the NFL rule book in the 50s or something like that. And the story behind that is crazy. I watched a whole video on it, but it's basically you can't excessively get the same penalty to try to stop an opponent from scoring, because then the referees are allowed to just give you the points because it's the other team like delaying the game inevitably or
I
something like
mean, it
that.
makes sense, honestly. It makes
Yeah.
sense that it would be in the rule book, but it's just weird that, we've never had to worry about that. It's never come up before.
That's what I was thinking, and it honestly felt like the tuck rule, where it's just like one of those things where it's like, yeah, technically it's a rule, but we've never been in this scenario to enforce it. Like if that, but again, my question to you is, I've seen a lot of people upset that the referees were basically like, we're going to give you points if you don't stop trying to do this. In that scenario, what else are the referees supposed to try to do? Like, I don't, again, this isn't even as an Eagles
You mean the
fan.
referee or do you mean Washington?
No, I'm saying the referees. If Washington just keeps jumping over the line and getting the same penalty, especially when it's the same person. And again, I understand getting or trying to do the snap count. And then I've seen people be like, oh, yeah, well, Jordan or Jalen Hurts was doing like a hard count. Like, yeah, he was doing a hard count because it was working. Like, why wouldn't I don't understand in this scenario who the bad guy is and why there needs to be a bad guy. I understand what Luvu is doing. He's trying to time the snap count. Jalen Hurts knows he's trying to time the snap count, so that's why he keeps doing a hard count. The
Yeah.
referees are throwing out the same penalty and can't get any more yards added to the penalty. So in this scenario, what would people upset that the referee said, we're just going to give them the touchdown if you stop doing this? In that scenario, what would you like the outcome to be? That's basically my
Well,
question.
my whole take on this was I think that rule could be put in place because, especially in a situation there on the goal line, is that you can hurt other players by constantly jumping over. I mean, your center's already got a bad back, like, right? The
Yeah.
Eagles center,
Well, also he hit Hurts on like the second one, just full on like tackled him basically.
yeah.
Like,
So like
yeah.
it's also now a player safety situation having them do that. So that's where my whole take on that was, and I'm fine with the referees pulling that old rule out of the rule book because okay, I mean, it makes sense. It's there for the rule, like it's there to make people safe kind of situation.
Yeah.
That was my
It's
take on it.
no, and again, I don't fault him for trying to do it, but I also people being like, well, this is what happens when you have the tush push or whatever. Quarterback sneaks have been around forever.
And
If the
some teams still do it, some teams don't. Patrick Mahomes doesn't do it anymore because he got injured doing that. So it's, you know, players know, people know, like, does it work? Does it not work? Josh Allen always typically goes to the left when he does this kind of push. Nobody does the tush push like the Eagles do. And it's
well,
mainly because Jalen Hurts and his size and his power where he can just drive forward.
Well, also the whole thing coming into the season was like, oh man, Jason Kelsey is the secret to the tush push and all that
I mean,
kind of
I
stuff.
thought so. I mean,
And
he's probably the greatest center to ever play the game.
yeah, but then also in this scenario, it's like, why would the Eagles not try to do the tush push? The tush push is not automatic because the Commanders had already stopped it earlier in the game on a 2-point attempt. And again, Buffalo has shown it's not automatic because anytime they got in 4th and 1 or 4th and inches, they just ran up to the line and tried the tush push. But again, Josh Allen does that weird tush push where he runs, like you were saying, to the left side and then kind of just tries to find a crease in the line instead of being pushed over the line.
Right.
But again, if the issue is you can't stop the tush push in this game they already stopped the tush push. So I don't understand the argument because the Commanders don't like it and keep getting a penalty try to stop it. The Eagles are the ones that have to change the play and try something different. Why? It's not automatic. But last bit, Casino, and then we will get out of here. I just wanted to do a quick Jalen Hurts thing because him going to the Super Bowl after losing his first Super Bowl is a thing, and I will pull this up right now, that has not happened the previous 19 times, which is crazy because you think only the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history go to the Super Bowl. Well, if you look at this one right now, uh, the previous 19 quarterbacks to lose their Super Bowl debut as a starter never made it back, going all the way back to 1994. I think, oh man, I can't remember. I think it might have been Bledsoe was the last one
Drew
to go.
Bledsoe.
I think I can't remember who it was, but you look at the list of names, it's kind of crazy that some of these players went to a Super Bowl. I'm looking at you, Rex Grossman, but no, this is, I mean, but a list also where Joe Burrow, arguably top 5 quarterback in the league. Jimmy Garoppolo, when he was with the 49ers, was arguably a top 10 quarterback in the league. Goff, obviously, with the Lions. Matt Ryan, that was his MVP year. Cam Newton, that was his 15-1 year. Colin Kaepernick with the 49ers. Rex Grossman is obviously the standout there. Matt Hasselbeck, Donovan McNabb, Jake Delhomme, Rich Gannon. Really good mid to early 2000s quarterbacks that were kind of in that second echelon below, like the elite guys.
Right.
And then you can throw Kerry Collins in there as well. Air McNair, Chris Chandler. Oh, Drew Bledsoe is on there. So it wasn't Drew Bledsoe. And then Neil O'Campbell, Stan Humphries. So that is, if you would have said, has another quarterback gone to the Super Bowl after losing their debut? I think I would have said no, but that is a crazy list that it's happened 19 times. Just one and dones. And again, I don't think any of those
Would it
guys.
be the guy from Buffalo? Because he went
Oh,
when
Jim
he's
Kelly.
yeah.
That Oh, that's probably, I think that is, I mean, in my defense, Jim Kelly and Drew Bledsoe do look shockingly similar. But, but yeah,
Tall,
I
skinny
think
white guys? Yeah.
but I think it was, yes, I think it was Jim Kelly, which also let's hope that's not how this trajectory plays out where they just go to 4 and lose them. But it's not 4 in a row, so there's still a chance, Casino. But also Jalen Hurts the last 3 seasons, 2 times NFC champion, 2-time Pro Bowler, 1-time All Pro, 121 total touchdowns, second among active quarterbacks, 51 rushing touchdowns, most by any player in the league, 42 wins, second among quarterbacks, only behind Patrick Mahomes. And then he is the first quarterback in 33 years to reach another Super Bowl after losing their first Super Bowl. So again, I'm not even going to do the Jalen Hurts thing where I just rant nonstop about him. He was the highest graded player in the entire championship round. Had more passing yards than Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Jaden Daniels. All quarterbacks, I was told, going into this week were better than him. So again, we've already shattered the narrative on here. When he passes the ball 35 times or more, the team wins more. They just don't play that style of football. So
You good?
that's it. Yeah.
I'm excited though that they're going back. The Eagles are going back because every time that the Eagles have gone to the Super Bowl since the Knights have been a franchise, the Knights have made it to the Stanley Cup Finals. Let's go Knights!
So last bit on this casino, let's just do our, obviously we have 2 weeks of content to fill, and you better believe we are doing a why does everyone hate this Super Bowl 2 video, because that was the first video of ours that blew up last year. We're doing the sequel because everyone also hates this Super Bowl matchup. But speaking of this Super Bowl matchup, casino, it's 15-2 Chiefs at 14-3 Eagles. Obviously, we'll do a big show where we break down every part of this, but just after this week, with a little time before the 2 weeks shenanigans start, what's just your thoughts going into it fresh off the last two games?
Eagles. They're gonna rush the fucking door down on them.
Yeah,
That's
as
what I'm saying.
if we remember correctly, I picked the Eagles the first time, but I was very nervous. And the reason I was nervous is I said I didn't trust their defense at all. This time is much different for two reasons. They have the number one defense in the league. And also, I was going to show this on closer to the Super Bowl, but when the weeks were going on that we had a lot of talk about, oh, are the Eagles the best team in the league? Are the Lions the best team in the league? All that kind of stuff. I made this graphic to make my point, and I never shared it on the show. So I will show you right now, Casino. Vic Fangio against Andy Reid. In the 5 games these two have played against each other, Vic Fangio's defense has only allowed 19 points per games. In those wins, Fangio's defense has only allowed 15 points per game. Andy Reid in those 5 matchups had McNabb, Vic, and Alex Smith. They're all mobile quarterbacks with Vic and Smith running similar offenses that Reid now runs with Mahomes. Vic Fangio has shut down Reid's quarterbacks to an average completion percentage of 57% and 235 passing yards per game. Those same quarterbacks have a combined total of 6 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and have been sacked 10 times. So I just thought that was an interesting thing to throw in there, where Vic Fangio, obviously the defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles, has kind of over his career had Andy Reid's number, and they have never played where the Eagles and Chiefs have never played against each other where Fangio was their defensive coordinator.
Right.
So again, now the yeah, but argument of that is Vic Fangio has also never played Andy Reid as a defensive coordinator where his quarterback was Patrick Mahomes. So now again, those numbers are skewed because it isn't, but where you read the little passage there that says similar offenses, I just think that the number one most underestimated element of this Super Bowl is going to be that right there, which is Vic Fangio actually plays against Andy Reid very well. And this Eagles defense, I think, especially with Zach Bond, who is potentially the defensive player of the year, a great coverage linebacker's responsibility is going to be Travis Kelce. And again, he's the defensive player of the year because of what he can do in coverage, which is he's a very good coverage linebacker. So when you look at this just face value, and obviously the second thing would be Saquon Barkley. The first Super Bowl was a 1-point score where the Eagles had the 30th ranked defense in the league. This Super Bowl, The Eagles are a better team on both sides of the ball. They have the MVP potentially on offense and MVP potentially on defense. And that's not including Hurts or Smith or Goddard or AJ Brown. So last time I was nervous. This time I'm not nervous. The Eagles should win this Super Bowl, and I think they do. Obviously, from a homer, that's not shocking, but also
What?
as a football oracle, I've gotten every game right this postseason except for that weird wild card round. So all I'm saying, Eagles are winning the Super Bowl. We'll have 2 weeks to talk about it. Anything else to talk about, Casino, before we get out of here?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, that was I was coming into today, I was like, can we really talk for an hour about these two games?
Yeah, we just
Yes.
don't know if I
Yes,
mean, we
we
can talk, but people don't
can.
like us talking, so.
Oh yeah, the video I was referencing, I just looked at it where our last clip was, do the Chiefs really get all the calls? 1 like, 6 dislikes. So that'll be our most disliked video ever, which good. You babies should watch the second part of it, which I'm going to post after this. Um but I'm Will, that's Casino over there. This has been the Only Sports Podcast. Anything before we get out of here?
Nope, adios.
Adios. We'll see you on Thursday.